Well, we would just like to welcome you to Covenant Calendar's introduction to Gideon's fleece, his clay pots and shofars. This is just a little introduction from Judges 6 and 7, and we will see the full teaching in just a little bit. In the 18 months, this is between May 2020 to January 2022, in those 18 months, there were over 75,000 views for Yahuah's covenant calendar. Already, a lot of people around the world are understanding Yahuah's days begin every day with the break of day, not sunset. This break of day is known as Boker in the Hebrew. Boker is always and only the first daylight in the sky before the sun peaks above the horizon. It's that very special time of the morning. This twilight time varies in length of time depending on where you live in the world. If the twilight time in your area of the world is very short, you may have been missing it all this time, so be sure to check it out. There are several scripture testimonies that speak of this twilight, or the mixing of light and night darkness, but the story of Gideon is not one of them. Judges 7 tells the story of how Gideon's army of 32,000 men was reduced to a mighty 300 warriors under Yahuah's instructions. This is a very simple story that shows in humble detail each new day began at dawn. And we already know there are around 40 scripture testimonies in the Old Testament alone that confirm this same day start truth. It's a statute. And yes, every one of these testimonies are meant to also be a firm report of Yahuah's covenant of the day and covenant of the night. You can find that spoken of in Jeremiah 33, verse 20. That is, no matter how many secular historical documents can be found to support sunset, it's the Torah that tells us when the day begins, not historical documents. However, many dawn day scripture testimonies do have a very special gem of information that really may not have been found unless you understand that the day begins with dawn, because that's where you're going to look and see what you can find. And once you do that, and you find these studies with a special gem, then you have to decide to break open every story in great detail to find that gem. It's a little bit of work. This Gideon testimony happens to be one of the dawn day stories that has a surprising gem of information. What could that be? In fact, it's very interesting that this gem is connected to the word soliloquy, or however you say that word, a dramatic or literary form of discourse in which a character talks to himself, revealing his thoughts when alone or unaware of the presence of others. We're going to come up to that term again real soon. This particular gem also breaks open a very controversial topic of the scriptures. Could this gem be connected to Yahuah's covenant calendar? The sunset theory teachings have put forth a lot of resistance against Yahuah's covenant for the day commencement. Do you know what most will say? I don't have time for this right now. I'm just fine with sunset. Leave me alone. Have you heard that before? But here's a question. Are you satisfied with sunset Sabbaths? If you haven't really checked things out, time is quickly passing by, and that's why you are invited to come and see what Gideon's testimony has for you. Well, let's get started right now. We ask you to join us as we're going to start this study on Gideon's dawn day start and that special gem. Thank you and shalom.